My wife cheated on me with her boss, took our $250, $0 inheritance, and then secretly sold our family home to fund her new life. Now she's suing me over custody and claiming my accusations ruined her career. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. It all started with little things, you know. Small signs that I brushed off at first, her being a little more distant, her phone always locked, secretive texts that she quickly deleted when I walked into the room. Honestly, I wanted to ignore it, tell myself I was overthinking. But then I found something that made my stomach drop. One night I was working late at the office, but I forgot my phone on the kitchen counter. When I got home around 11 p.m., I noticed her phone was still on the table. Screen lit up with a new message from someone named Alex. I didn't recognize the name, but the message was friendly, way too friendly. It said, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Last night was amazing." That wasn't just a friendly text. My heart started pounding. I stared at it, trying to make sense of what I was seeing, feeling a cold sweat break out. That wasn't all. Over the next few days, I noticed her changing her routines. She started leaving work early, claiming she had extra projects, but I knew better. She'd come home looking flushed, avoiding my eyes, and her phone was glued to her hand. I even caught her in a lie about a dinner with her boss, Mark. She said it was just a business dinner, but I had seen the emails. She'd booked a hotel room with him for some conference that I later found out was just an excuse to be alone with him. One night, I decided to follow her. I didn't want to believe she was cheating, but I couldn't ignore the gut feeling anymore. I followed her to a fancy hotel downtown. She was with Mark, no doubt about it. They were holding hands in the lobby, acting like a couple. I watched her kiss him goodbye through the hotel window, and that's when I knew for sure. My wife was having an affair with her boss. It was like being punched in the stomach. The next morning, I confronted her. I didn't want to do it, but I had no choice. I told her I knew everything about Mark, about the texts, about the hotel. Her face twisted into a look of pure contempt. "You're crazy," she spat. "You're just jealous because I have a better life now. You're insecure. It's not like I cheated with someone I don't respect." She lied so smoothly, like she believed her own bullshit. She insisted it was just sex, nothing serious, that she loved me and didn't mean to hurt me. But her eyes betrayed her. There was no remorse, only anger and defiance. I felt a mix of shock and rage. How could she do this? After all these years, our home, our life savings. She took our $250, $0 inheritance from my grandparents, and now she's out there screwing her boss, thinking she's untouchable. The betrayal cut deep. I thought I knew her, but she was just a manipulative bitch hiding behind a pretty face and a fake smile. I could feel my world crumbling, and I didn't know what to do next. After that confrontation, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. The house felt emptier than ever, even when she was still there. Kept up her act, acting like she was the innocent victim, throwing around accusations that I was controlling and jealous, saying I was ruining her career with my stupid accusations. She claimed I was the one who destroyed our marriage, not her affair. But I knew better. She was the one who broke it first, and she did it with such ease, like it was nothing. I started digging into her phone and her emails, trying to understand just how deep her lies went. That's when I found the real shocker. She had already sold our family home. I never knew she was planning it, but there it was, an email confirmation from the real estate agent. She'd secretly signed the papers, sold the house, and was moving out with Mark. She used the proceeds from the sale to fund her new life, to buy herself a fancy apartment downtown, and to start over with her boss, all behind my back. It hit me like a freight train. Not only had she cheated, but she'd also stolen our inheritance, our life savings, and used it to bankroll her betrayal. I couldn't believe the audacity. She'd taken our $250, $0, and I had no idea. I felt so betrayed, so helpless. I thought about confronting her again, but what was the point? She'd already made her move. She was planning her escape, and I was left to pick up the pieces. I decided to hire a lawyer. I needed to protect what was mine, our money, our assets, our home. I also started to realize that wasn't just cheating physically. She was manipulating the whole situation. She was claiming I was an unstable, jealous husband trying to ruin her career. She went as far as filing a lawsuit over custody of our cat. Yeah, our cat, trying to make it seem like I was some kind of terrible person. All I wanted was the truth, but she was spinning this web of lies so thick I didn't know how to get out of it. Meanwhile, I kept thinking about the money. The inheritance was supposed to be for our future, for our retirement, for our kids if we ever had any. Instead, she blew it all on her affair, her new life, and her lies. I couldn't even look at her without feeling disgusted. She kept insisting I was the one ruining everything, that I was crazy for accusing her. But I had proof: texts, emails, the sale of the house. It was all there, and yet she kept denying everything, painting herself as the victim. The emotional toll was enormous. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry. How could she do this to me? After everything we built, she just threw it all away for some affair with her boss. And the worst part, she had the nerve to blame me, to say I was the one ruining her career. She told everyone I was abusive, controlling, and unstable. I lost friends over it, people taking her side because she's the victim. But I knew the truth, and that's what kept me going. I had to fight back, not just for myself, but for what little dignity I had left. By the time I got the legal notice about her suing me for custody of the cat and claiming I'd ruined her career, I knew I had to act fast. Was good at spinning stories. She'd always been manipulative, but this was next level. She was trying to turn everything around, making herself out to be the wronged wife while I was the villain. Honestly, I wasn't surprised. That's her style: lie, deny, twist everything to her favor. I started gathering all the evidence I could. Texts, emails, bank statements, proof of the house sale, anything that could show she'd been planning her escape for months. I also looked into her new apartment, hired a private investigator to confirm she was living there with Mark and not just visiting. The more I uncovered, the angrier I got. She'd taken our inheritance, sold our house without telling me, and now she was trying to lock me out of my own life. Meanwhile, her lawyer kept pushing the narrative that I was some kind of abusive, unstable husband, and that my accusations were baseless. She even claimed I'd been stalking her, which was a flat-out lie. I never crossed the line, at least not physically. But I did follow her that one night, and I admit I was angry. Still, I never laid a hand on her. I just wanted the truth. That's what she couldn't stand, me digging into her lies, exposing her. I decided I couldn't just sit back and let her destroy everything I'd worked for. I reached out to her boss, Mark, trying to find out what he knew about her plans and her motives. I wanted to know how deep this betrayal went. Turns out, Mark was just as much a liar as he promised her a new life, a fresh start, and she'd taken the bait, blinded by her greed and ambition. She convinced herself she was the victim, but I saw her for what she was: a selfish, manipulative woman who'd lied and cheated her way into a new life. The financial damage was mounting. I had to consider how to protect what was left of our assets. I contacted a forensic accountant to trace every dollar she'd siphoned off, every account she'd opened under false pretenses. I also started the process of reclaiming what I could from the house sale, trying to stop her from liquidating more of our assets. It was a fight I knew I couldn't win overnight, but I had to try. I couldn't let her just walk away with everything: my money, my reputation, and our home. The emotional toll was worse than I expected. Every day I felt like I was drowning in betrayal and anger. I was furious at her for doing this, but I was also heartbroken. I still loved her. Stupid, I know, but that love was poisoned now. I kept asking myself how someone I trusted so much could turn into such a liar. I kept replaying our last conversation, her dismissive tone, her sneering smile when she told me I was just jealous and controlling. It made me realize how blind I'd been. I had trusted her with my life, and she'd used that trust to destroy me. I also started to think about what I wanted next. Was I going to fight for the marriage, or was it already over? I couldn't see her changing, not after everything. But I knew one thing: I was done being the victim. I was going to fight back, not just for the money or the house, but for my dignity. I needed to make her pay for what she'd done in whatever way I could. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about justice, and I was determined to see it through. The more I dug into her affairs, the clearer it became that I had been planning her escape for months. She kept so many secrets, hidden so many accounts, and lied about everything. I found out she opened multiple secret bank accounts under fake names, funneling money into them little by little. She transferred some of the inheritance into those accounts, trying to make it look like she'd earned it on her own. That's when I realized she'd been scheming from the start, all while pretending to be the perfect wife. I also discovered she'd taken out a significant loan on the house before selling it, probably to cover her expenses or to fund her new life. I confronted her about it, and she spun some story about needing money for emergencies, claiming I was just paranoid. But I knew better. She'd been planning her departure for a long time, and I was just now catching up. It was infuriating. She'd lied to my face so many times I couldn't tell what was real anymore. At that point, I knew I had to get serious about protecting what was left. I filed for an emergency injunction to freeze her accounts and prevent her from selling or transferring any more assets. I also contacted a forensic accountant, who confirmed that she'd already siphoned off a large chunk of our inheritance, along with some of the house sale proceeds. We were talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars missing. That money was supposed to secure our future, and she'd stolen it without a second thought. Meanwhile, her lawyer kept painting me as the villain, saying I was a controlling, unstable husband who was trying to tear her down. It was so predictable, had mastered the art of victimhood, twisting every fact to suit her narrative. She claimed I'd been abusive, that I'd been stalking her, that I'd ruined her career with my accusations. But every piece of evidence I had told a different story. Her lies were so blatant, I wondered how she kept a straight face. The emotional toll was brutal. I felt like I was losing my mind some days. I'd wake up wondering if this was all a nightmare I'd wake up from. I'd see her face, so cold and calculating, and I'd remember how much I loved her, how we once planned a future together. Now that future was crumbling and I was left with nothing but pain and anger. I'd trusted her with everything, my heart, my savings, my life, and she'd betrayed me at every turn. I also started to think about what I wanted to do next. Was I going to fight for the marriage, or was it already beyond repair? Honestly, I was leaning toward ending it. I couldn't live with the betrayal anymore. Every time I looked at her, I saw the woman I thought I knew, but now I knew she was just a liar, a manipulator. Still, part of me hoped for some kind of redemption, some way to salvage what little dignity I had left. But deep down, I knew that wouldn't be possible without facing the truth first. I was tired of pretending everything was okay. It was, and it never would be. At this point, I'd reached a breaking point. I'd spent weeks fighting legal battles, tracking down her secret accounts, and trying to gather enough evidence to prove her deception. But the emotional toll was catching up with me. Every day felt like walking through a minefield of lies and betrayal. I couldn't trust her, and honestly, I didn't want to. I realized I had to make a choice: continue fighting for a marriage that was already dead, or finally accept that it was over and focus on rebuilding myself. I decided to end it. I filed for divorce and pushed for full custody of the cat, something she was using as a pawn, claiming I was unfit because I lacked stability after all this chaos. I knew it was just her way of twisting the narrative, but I stood my ground. I had evidence that she'd been lying about her whereabouts, about her relationship with Mark, and about her financial manipulations. I wanted her held accountable, not just for the betrayal, but for the financial damage she'd caused. The divorce proceedings were intense. Pulled out all the stops, more lies, more accusations. She claimed I'd been abusive, that I'd stalked her, that I'd ruined her career. She even hired her own attorney to spin her version of the story, but I had everything documented. The emails, the bank statements, the witness testimonies. I knew the truth, and I was determined to make sure it came out. What hurt most was seeing how she had turned everyone against me. Friends who once trusted me started questioning my sanity, and her family was no help. They believed her version of events without even hearing mine. I felt isolated, betrayed by the people I thought cared about me. But I also learned something important. People often believe what they want to believe, especially when it's easier to blame the victim. That realization was a bitter pill, but it made me more determined to fight for what was right. Throughout this process, I kept thinking about the money. The inheritance, the house, the savings, all gone, stolen by her greed and lies. I had to start over from scratch, rebuild what I'd lost, and learn to trust myself again. The emotional scars run deep, but I'm slowly healing. I still get angry when I think about how she used me, how she lied and betrayed everything we built. But I also know I can't change the past. What I can do is move forward, learn from this nightmare, and never let someone manipulate me again. Now, I'm focusing on getting my life back. I've cut out all contact with her, and I'm working on rebuilding my confidence. I don't regret standing up for myself, even if it's been the hardest thing I've ever done. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that betrayal cuts deep, but resilience is stronger. And someday, I hope I'll find someone who truly values honesty and loyalty, someone who won't tear me apart the way she did. Looking back, I realize how much this entire ordeal has changed me. I used to believe in the idea of forever, in the vows we made, in the fairy tale of a perfect marriage. But life threw me a harsh lesson. Sometimes the person you trust most is the one who can hurt you the deepest. When I finally uncovered her lies, her affair, her secret accounts, her selling our home, part of me felt like I was losing my mind. The betrayal was so complete, so calculated, I wondered how I ever missed the signs. Now I see things differently. I see how dangerous it is to ignore your instincts, how vital it is to question even the smallest red flags. I learned that money can be a motivator for betrayal. It's what fueled her lies, her greed, her desire for a new life. The inheritance, which was supposed to secure our future, was weaponized against me. Her greed turned her into a different person, someone I didn't recognize anymore. But what I also learned is the importance of standing up for yourself. I fought back with everything I had: lawyers, evidence, resilience, and I didn't let her spin the story entirely in her favor. I found strength I didn't know I had. I learned that sometimes the only way to survive betrayal is to accept that you can't control other people's actions, only your reaction. I chose to walk away, to start over, and to rebuild what I lost. Most importantly, I've come to understand that trust is fragile. It takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair. I still carry scars, both emotional and financial, but I refuse to let her define me. I've learned to value honesty, loyalty, and integrity, things that she threw aside without a second thought. I've also realized that I don't need someone who betrays me to be whole. I can find happiness on my own, piece by piece. In the end, I'm grateful for the wake-up call. It's been one of the hardest experiences of my life, but it's also made me stronger. If there's any advice I can give, it's this: trust your gut, keep your eyes open, and never ignore the signs of betrayal. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Because sometimes the truth hurts, but hiding from it only makes it worse. And no amount of money, status, or lies can ever replace the need for genuine loyalty and respect.